Hey guys, this is for those of you that are looking to buy land. What does it take? What is it that you need to know? What do you need to look for? I'm Carlos Colon with Georgia Perimeter Homes, and welcome to our weekly video. Hey, welcome back, you guys. So let's talk land. What is it that you're looking to purchase? I think a lot of this really has to do with the use of the land. So whether you're looking to farm, so put horses on it, cows, any other kind of animal, versus maybe you want to do some of those things, but you also want to build a house on it. Well, what do I need to know? What are the ins and outs? So we're going to go into the structure. A lot of this is going to cover the basics, and anything deeper than this is going to involve your personal use and what you're looking to do. For the sake of this video, most of it's what we're going to discuss is really going to talk about when you're looking to build a house on it, not so much a commercial building or anything like that. So let's jump right in. So let's start with zoning. Okay, zoning is one of the most important things that you need to know on the front side. What this is really your county, or depending on how close you are to the city, maybe your city zoning as well, will set regulations on what you're allowed to do at that location with the property. So for example, let's say you've got 3 acres that you want to purchase, but you want to run a gun range or you want to breed animals. Okay, that's important to understand, because depending on the kind of zoning, let's say you're doing dogs, that may not be allowed, and that's one of the strictest ones, to be honest with you, especially in our state of Georgia. So you need to know the ins and outs of that, know how that relates to you, and be able to apply that accordingly. So again, for the sake of this video, we're going to go more towards I'm looking to build a house on it, and maybe I want some animals or something on my land as well, but I'm just looking for privacy and to build a custom home. So the next thing is really going to be studying the grade of your land. Now, a lot goes into this. So when we're talking about the grade, we're not talking like USDA beef. We're not talking grade A, B, C. Grade of land is talking about how the slope of the land, essentially. So how many hills, what do you see when you're actually on the land itself? Is it dropping straight down? What does the terrain look like is the best way to phrase it. If you've ever looked at one of those models from school where you've got mountains and valleys and that kind of a deal, same idea. That's the grade of the land. And so you need to know what the grade of your land is when it comes to how you're going to use it, especially if you're going to build a home. So the grade of land starts to go into a lot of other things that we're about to talk about now. For example, flood zoning. So if your grade of your land drops below a certain point and you're close to a body of water or a creek or something, you might be in a flood zone. And even if you don't think you are, you should always have your realtor check just to see. And if your realtor doesn't know, no matter what, you need to check yourself. And if that doesn't work, call the city or the county that you're in and ask them directly. The reason why that's important is, let's say that you are in a flood zone. You need to know, okay, if I build my home in this particular part of this land or on this land in general, will I be required to have flood zone insurance for the insurance that I have on that property? Those are the things that people don't think about ahead of time that you need to know. And so let's say that there is some flood zoning, but it's on the backside of the property. It's nowhere near where you want to build. Great. You need to still call your insurance company that you currently have and ask them the question, if I was to build a home here, would you require flood insurance? And then take it that deep step. And if you need to, call several insurance companies and ask them the same question. Now, this can get very tricky. So again, make sure to talk to a realtor that really knows about this to be able to discuss that thoroughly. Okay, next, soil tests. Again, this has a lot to do now, not so much with the grade of the land, but it does affect what kind of soils are there. It has more to do with what kind of dirt is there. The reason why that's important is most people that are buying land are usually buying acres, several acres. And in doing so, a lot of times it's difficult to get sewer access for your draining on the home that you build. And so what I'm trying to say in the state of Georgia is most of these homes will be septic. And in order to get septic, you have to get approval for a septic tank on the property. But in order to do that, you've got to hire an engineer. And an engineer is going to charge you and do soil tests and also design your septic system depending on what house and how many bedrooms you're looking to have in it. And then they're going to send that to the environmental health for approval. Once you get that seal of approval from them, then at that point you're good to go. Now, here's what that means. Once this engineer does these soil samples and you ask the question, listen, I really want to build the house here. Can you kind of design the septic around that if possible? They'll do the best that they can to match that. But the soils may not allow for that. You might have a tank in one place, but you have to have your drain field where you want to build your house. And that's the only place that it can be built. Well, that's an issue. Now we need to redesign and restructure this so it's going to work for you. So this is extremely important when it comes to how you're going to do the setup of your home. So just know this. When you're hiring an engineer, you need to hire someone that's local to that particular place. And the reason why that is because that particular environmental health usually has the way that they operate. And the person that operates with that environmental health frequently will know the ins and outs of what it's going to take to get that approval. So once you hire the right person, you get that approval. Let's say you've done all this. Check, check, check. We're good to go. What else do I need to know? Okay, well, next, we haven't even talked about setbacks and then the design of the home. So setbacks are where there are lines on the insides of your property and you cannot build your home outside of those lines. And so that's what they call setbacks. Now, you also have, it's offset on the side and also road frontage wise. You have certain things from the front, the side, and the back of that property. You can't build a home on the very, very corner of that property. So you need to know what those setbacks are and how they relate to you being able to put your home in a particular place and then set the septic around it. You've done all this, and now what you're doing is you're going into the design of the home. Well, feel free. Whatever you want to do, pick the floor plan, but you should have asked this question on the front side. Hopefully you haven't closed on the land yet, which is, what are the community covenants and restrictions? Now, this doesn't always mean that community has an HOA, okay? That's a homeowners association. That's not the same thing, okay? So we need to understand that. HOA versus CCRs, community covenants and restrictions, are not the same thing. Okay, so HOA is your homeowners association that enforces your CCRs and other rules and regulations that have to be abided by. They usually overlap and are stricter than your CCRs, your covenants and restrictions. And so we need to know what the CCRs are for that community. And let me give you an example or some examples of what is usually entailed in something like this. Number one is going to be square footage minimum requirements. So they won't allow you to have like tiny homes a lot of times on these properties. So in knowing, let's say that you want to build that, which is becoming more and more frequent, you need to know, hey, minimum square footage here is 1,500 square feet. Will they allow me to build a 300, 400, 500 square foot home or tiny home on this? And you need to ask those questions in advance, and worst case scenario, at least put it into your contract as, hey, I've got to get this approval for me to be able to close on this land. And so it's important to study those. Some of the other things that's one example. The second example I'll give you is like the exterior structure of your home. There are some communities where you have to have at least a 3-sided brick home if you're building a home. Others will have minimum brick front or minimum some kind of stonework on the front. Study these restrictions because this will let you know what kind of home you need to look for as far as the exterior style for that particular community. Other properties won't let you, or other communities rather, won't let you build a 2 or 3 story home. So know the CCRs, study them, make that a part of your offer for this land. And worst case scenario, at least drive by the neighborhood and study what's already there. That usually gives you a good insight on what they'll allow and not allow. If I was to give you another example that's extremely important and why studying CCRs is so important, it would be because if you're planning on putting a mobile home or a modular home on that land, a lot of CCRs and zoning requirements might restrict you from being able to do that in that particular area. So study it before you buy land that you can't use for what you want to use. So you've done all that. What's next? Now's the fun part. Study the blueprints. Pick something you really, really like. Now, does it have to be done in this order? Absolutely not. This is just a layout of everything you need to know. So you can pick the house on the front side and know this is the house I want. I just got to find the land that will allow me and location that will allow me to build this house. Perfectly okay. But you need to understand how all these things relate and correlate to each other. So, if you have any questions about this or any other home or land, give us a call or check out our website. Our phone number is 770-314-1285 and our website is www.georgiaperimeterhomes.com. Thanks, you guys. Bye.